So I wanted to just start though by asking you just for a little bit of background on yourself. Are you from Portland originally?
I am not originally from Portland. I hail from Minnesota,
Uh,
and I moved here from Minneapolis via Seattle. So I moved here, gosh, it's 2020. I moved here 3.5 or 4 years ago.
got it.
Um, and people ask me why I moved, and I say legal weed and unregulated titties,
That
is
makes
the
a lot of
reason.
sense.
It
Yeah.
does.
So how did this the stripper strike come about initially?
Initially, uh, for it, the Lucky Devil Lounge was one of the only clubs that was open during the last shutdown because they had an outdoor space for strip club for their poles, and then they did Boober, the delivery service,
Right.
food delivery service. And it was really hard because like people from out of town from Minneapolis would be like, oh, why aren't you dancing? You could go do Boober. And it's like it's not that easy. They only had like six people working that I know of on shift. And when George Floyd was murdered and Blackout Tuesday happened, which was like a day that people posted these black squares on their Instagram to show solidarity. Lucky Devil Lounge had posted a picture of Black Lives Matter signs on their Instagram all over their stage. There's probably 16, 20 signs on their stage. And this comment feed started underneath it that was like, man, that's like more Black Lives Matter signs than have ever been black butts on your stage.
Mhm.
What's up with that? Like, you guys are seem really down. Why haven't you been this way before? And a lot of the dancers came forward because they feel a lot of responsibility towards the advertising of the club because they, you know what I mean? They're the people who do a lot of the promos for the clubs. And they were like, well, we're not racist. We don't see our club as racist. Like, what do we do? And I was like, well, it's a bigger issue than just not being racist. You have to be anti-racist.
Mhm.
Um, and they were like, well, I don't know, we don't book people. We're not in charge of that. What do you want us to do? And I was like, well, go on strike, like do something. And that was they did. They stopped working until their club agreed to go to the sensitivity trainings and take a good hard look at their non-discrimination policy, which every business is required to have.
Um, so yeah, like you said, there was about 30 clubs that signed on. I think that when we wrote about this back a couple months ago, that was the number as well. How much follow through has there been? Has there been time? And or are you even aware of like sort of what has happened since then?
Yeah, I do know that I'm trying to think here. So I like to refer to it like a handicap ramp. If you went to Arby's and said, "Hey, y'all need a handicap ramp," it's not actually your job to tell them how big the handicap ramp is, right?
Right.
There are laws
Right.
in place for protected classes. And I've been really proud that a lot of the clubs who signed on have taken the time to look at their policy. And I know that, and I don't want to miss anybody because I want to like hype these clubs, but Spice, Kit Kat, um, X Lounge, Devil's Point, Sassy's, and and a couple of other clubs have all
Mhm.
taken the time to either use the resources that we recommended to them or to find their own resources to do training for their staff and for the dancers to be more aware of their implicit bias. I'm really proud of that. There are clubs that have not played rap music in 15 years that are now playing rap music, which seems like a small win, but it's a really big deal.
Mhm.
Um, and I think that the biggest thing that we have noticed is that dancers have some place to go to talk to people about the issues that are happening at their club. One of my mantras or mission statements is that I don't want there to ever be a day when there is a dancer at 2 a.m. crying in the dressing room, not knowing who to go to.
Mhm.
And I have found that they now have some place to go. They're emailing us, they're calling us, they're reaching out for resources and for help, and we're able to set them up with domestic violence resources,
Mhm.
sexual assault resources, help with their landlords, help with their bosses, legal representation for their to, deal with issues at their clubs and in their workspaces. And it's been slow going, but
Mhm.
also I think that everything is slow going right now.
Right. So what is the future, your kind of future goals for the stripper strike? Is it kind of looking past the pandemic when things return to some semblance of normalcy? What do you hope to accomplish?
So around June 5th, June 17th, we got fiscal sponsorship for our nonprofit status through the
Mhm.
YWCA of the Greater Portland area, who has been a stupendous resource. I
Mhm.
I just can't imagine any other nonprofit sitting down with a black stripper, hearing that we're about to cause a ruckus at our clubs and saying, you know what? We trust you for our nonprofit status. We trust you. Let's go. We will help you. And the Y did that. I mean, almost without question. Susan Stoltenberg at the Y is a stupendous person who supports so many different communities. And I mean, swim lessons for kids are great. um,
Mhm.
and so we are now a nonprofit organization called Haymarket Pole Collective, and we have a long-term plan to provide. So we have support groups for Black parents, especially birthing parents who are, we try not to use gendered language, so it would be mothers, but people who have given birth.
Right.
And then we're going to have one for Indigenous folks coming up soon. We just raised the funds for that. And so really what we're looking at is to hit three areas of the industry. We want to have supportive home systems for sex workers and erotic service providers and their families. We want to provide health for their bodies, and we want to provide safe workplaces. And so those three things are really what we're focusing on through mental health resources, through ongoing scholarship programs that we're currently applying for grants for, to help people take business classes, because we are our job. As long as we have a butt, we have a job. And so it's really important to carry the skills that you need to do that job well, and to have it benefit you. So financial literacy, parenting classes, mental health resources, and then we have a team of legal support for both like dealing with landlords and dealing with rental things. We have a legal team for discrimination. We have a legal team for lost wages. So we have a ton of lawyers that are working with us pro bono, to try to help dancers who do have an issue. So if any dancers have any issues that they need help with, they can definitely give us a call. We focus in on Black, Indigenous, and trans sex workers because they
Mhm.
are statistically more likely to experience these things. But I found that, in fact, a lot of white dancers don't have a lot of resources to find those things. So we're able to give them resources as well.